What would you do if you found a wallet stuffed with more money than you'd seen in your entire life, and all you had eaten in 3 days was half a moldy sandwich? Would you keep it? Would you take just enough to survive? Or would you return every single dollar, even if it meant your little brother might go another night without food? This is the impossible choice a 9-year-old girl named Lily Bennett faced on a freezing December morning in Chicago. And what she decided to do, along with the note she left inside, would bring a powerful billionaire named Daniel Cross to his knees, crying in a way he hadn't cried since he was a child. This story will shake you to your core, so stay until the end, because what started as a lost wallet became something nobody could have predicted. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. Daniel Cross stood in his penthouse office on the 47th floor of Cross Tower, staring down at the city of Chicago like a king surveying his kingdom. At 33 years old, he owned 12 buildings in the downtown area, had a net worth that newspapers loved to speculate about, and drove cars that cost more than most people's houses. His suits were custom made in Italy. His watch cost $80,000. His life from the outside looked absolutely perfect. But inside, Daniel felt like a hollow shell. He couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed, really laughed, or felt genuinely excited about anything. Every morning was the same. Wake up in his massive, empty apartment, drink expensive coffee that tasted like nothing, go to meetings where people agreed with everything he said because they were afraid of him, go home alone, sleep, repeat. He had everything money could buy, but he felt more alone than a man stranded on a desert island. That Tuesday morning started like every other. Daniel's assistant, a nervous young man named Peter, had arranged his schedule down to the minute. Meeting at 9, conference call at 10:30, lunch with investors at noon, but life, Daniel would soon learn, doesn't care about schedules. Around 11 o'clock, Daniel decided to walk to his next meeting instead of taking his usual car service. He couldn't explain why. Maybe he was bored, maybe some part of him was desperate for something, anything different to happen. He grabbed his black wool coat, stepped into the private elevator, and headed down to street level. The December air hit him like a slap. It was bitter cold, the kind of cold that makes your bones ache. Daniel pulled his coat tighter and started walking down Michigan Avenue past the expensive shops and restaurants where he sometimes ate meals he barely tasted. People rushed past him, their breath forming little clouds in the frozen air. Nobody looked at each other. Everyone was in their own world just like him. He was 3 blocks from his building when he felt for his wallet to check the time on his phone. He'd left his phone in his other pocket and his hand found nothing. His heart jumped. Daniel stopped walking so suddenly that a woman behind him almost crashed into him. She shot him an annoyed look and hurried past, but Daniel wasn't paying attention. He was patting all his pockets, his movements getting faster and more frantic. His wallet was gone. For most people, losing a wallet means losing some cash, maybe some credit cards, definitely a huge headache with the bank. For Daniel Cross, that wallet contained $8,000 in cash. He always carried large amounts, a habit from his father who never trusted banks completely. Along with several credit cards with essentially unlimited spending power, his driver's license, and a small photograph that was the only picture he had of his mother, who had died when he was 7 years old. That photograph was the only thing in the wallet he actually cared about. The money could be replaced, the cards could be canceled, but that tiny faded photo of his mother smiling at the camera, holding 5-year-old Daniel in her arms at the beach, that was priceless. It was the only physical reminder he had that someone had once loved him unconditionally, before his world became about money and power and cold business deals. Daniel's hands started shaking, and it wasn't from the cold. He retraced his steps, his eyes scanning the sidewalk desperately. He checked the coffee shop where he'd stopped briefly. Nothing. He asked the barista if anyone had turned in a wallet. She barely looked up from her phone and said no. He went back outside and searched the gutters, the bus stop, benches, everywhere, still nothing. After an hour of searching, Daniel returned to his office defeated and furious with himself. How could he have been so careless? He immediately called his bank and canceled all his credit cards. He called the police and filed a report, though the officer on the phone sounded like he filed 50 of these reports every day and expected nothing to come of it. Daniel hung up feeling more empty than before. The money didn't matter. Those cards didn't matter. But his mother's photograph, that mattered more than anything else he owned. He tried to focus on work for the rest of the day, but he couldn't. Every few minutes his hand would automatically reach for his pocket, and the absence of his wallet felt like a missing tooth his tongue couldn't stop checking. By 6 o'clock, when Peter knocked on his door to tell him good night, Daniel just nodded without looking up. He sat in his office until the cleaning crew arrived at 8, and even then he didn't want to leave. When Daniel finally went home that night, his enormous apartment felt more empty than ever. He stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at the glittering city lights and felt nothing. Just numb, just tired, just alone. Meanwhile, on the other side of Chicago, in a neighborhood that Daniel's car never drove through and that tourists never visited, A little girl named Lily Bennett was having the worst week of her 9-year-old life. Lily and her 6-year-old brother Tommy lived in an abandoned building on Riverside Street. Well, lived wasn't really the right word. They survived there, they existed there, they hid there. The building had once been a small factory that made furniture, but it had been closed for years. Most of the windows were broken. The roof leaked when it rained. There was no heat, no electricity, and no running water. But it had walls and a roof, which was more than sleeping on the street, so Lily and Tommy made it work. Their mother had left them there 6 months ago. She had been struggling with problems that Lily was too young to fully understand, problems involving drugs and dangerous people and choices that no parent should make. One morning, their mom had kissed both of them on the forehead, told them she'd be back soon, and walked out the door. She never came back. Lily waited for 3 weeks before she accepted that her mother wasn't coming home. Lily could have called the police or gone to a shelter. She knew those options existed, but she was terrified that if she did, she and Tommy would be separated. She'd heard stories from other homeless kids about the foster system, about brothers and sisters who got sent to different homes and never saw each other again. Tommy was all she had left in the world. He was her responsibility now, so Lily decided they would survive on their own, no matter what it took. And for 6 months, somehow they did. Lily collected bottles and cans to recycle for money. She waited outside grocery stores and asked kind-looking people if they had spare change. Sometimes she found day-old bread in the dumpster behind a bakery. On good days, a church 3 blocks away served free lunch, and Lily would take Tommy there and they'd eat until their stomachs hurt because they didn't know when the next meal would come. But this week had been especially brutal. The weather had turned viciously cold. Tommy had developed a terrible cough that made his whole small body shake. Lily had spent their last few dollars on cough medicine from the dollar store, but it didn't seem to help much. Tommy's forehead felt hot when she touched it at night. She knew he was getting sicker and it terrified her. On Tuesday morning, Lily left Tommy sleeping under their pile of blankets, really just old coats and torn sleeping bags they'd found, and went out looking for anything that could help them. Food, money, anything. She walked through the nicer parts of town because that's where people threw away better stuff. Her hands were red and chapped from the cold because her gloves had holes in them. Her stomach felt like it was eating itself. She hadn't had a real meal in 3 days. That's when she saw it. She was walking down Michigan Avenue, trying to look like she belonged there even though her worn-out coat and dirty sneakers marked her as someone from a different world. She was scanning the ground, looking for dropped change or maybe a half-eaten sandwich someone had thrown away, when she spotted a black leather wallet lying against the wall of a building, half hidden behind a trash can. Lily's heart started pounding. She looked around quickly to see if anyone was watching. The sidewalk was crowded, but everyone was moving fast, staring at their phones, lost in their own thoughts. Nobody was paying attention to one small girl. She bent down and picked up the wallet, then quickly walked to a nearby alley where she could look at it without being seen. Her hands were shaking as she opened it. Inside, she found more money than she had ever seen in her entire life. Stacks and stacks of $100 bills. She couldn't even count how much. There were also credit cards with a name on them, Daniel Cross, and there was a small photograph of a beautiful woman holding a little boy. The woman was smiling like she'd never known sadness. For a long moment, Lily just stared at all that money. Her brain couldn't fully process it. With this money, she could buy food for Tommy. Real food, hot soup, fresh bread, fruit, everything. She could buy him better medicine. She could pay for a warm hotel room where they could sleep in real beds and take hot showers. She could buy new winter coats and boots. She could solve every problem they had, at least for a while. Her hand was actually reaching for the money when she thought about her mother. Before everything went wrong, before the drugs and the disappearance, Lily's mom used to tell her something every single night. Baby girl, the only thing you truly own in this world is your character. Money comes and goes, people come and go, but who you are inside, that's forever. Always do the right thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Lily closed her eyes. Tears started running down her dirty cheeks. She wanted that money so badly it physically hurt. She wanted to save Tommy. She wanted to not be hungry anymore. She wanted to not wake up every morning terrified that today might be the day she couldn't protect her little brother anymore. But she also knew, deep in her heart, that this money didn't belong to her. Some person named Daniel Cross had lost it, and he was probably looking for it. And if she kept it, she wouldn't be able to look at herself in the mirror. She wouldn't be the person her mother had raised her to be. Still, she couldn't return it empty. Tommy needed food right now. He was sick. He might get sicker. Lily made a decision that felt like her heart was being ripped in half. She took $100 bill from the wallet, just one. Then she walked to a corner store, bought a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, a gallon of milk, better cough medicine for Tommy, and some apples. The cashier gave her change, $62.15. Lily went back to the alley. Her hands were still shaking as she pulled out the scrap of paper and a stubby pencil she always carried. She used them to write down addresses of places that might give out free food. She thought for a long time about what to write. Then, slowly and carefully, she wrote, "Dear Mr. Daniel Cross, I found your wallet on Michigan Avenue. I'm sorry, but I took $100 to buy food and medicine for my little brother Tommy. He's 6 and he's really sick and we haven't eaten in 3 days. I know stealing is wrong and my mama taught me better than that. I'm so sorry, I put the change back in. That's $62.15. I wanted to return everything because it's not mine. I know $100 is probably not a lot of money to you because you have so much, but it means everything to us. I'm sorry again, I hope you can forgive me. Your wallet also has a picture of a really pretty lady with a little boy. She looks like she loved you very much. I hope you still have her in your life. Thank you for understanding. Lily. P.S. If you want to call the police on me, I understand. I deserve it." She folded the note carefully and put it in the wallet, right on top of the money so it would be the first thing the man saw. Then she put the change, every cent of it, back in the wallet too. She looked at the address on the driver's license. Daniel Cross, Cross Tower, Suite 4700. She knew that building. It was one of the giant, fancy towers downtown that she walked past sometimes. Lily walked the 15 blocks to Cross Tower, hugging the wallet against her chest under her coat. When she got there, she stared up at the massive building that seemed to touch the sky. She felt so small, so insignificant. She walked into the gleaming lobby where everything was marble and glass and looked more expensive than anything she'd ever touched. A security guard immediately started walking toward her. He was a large man with a stern face, and Lily felt her stomach drop. She didn't belong here. She was dirty and poor and probably looked like exactly what she was, a homeless kid. "Can I help you?" the guard asked. His voice wasn't mean, but it wasn't friendly either. I found a wallet," Lily said quietly, pulling it out from under her coat. "It belongs to someone named Daniel Cross," the address said, this building. The guard's eyes widened when he saw the expensive leather wallet. He looked at Lily with new suspicion, like maybe she had stolen it rather than found it. "Stay right here," he said firmly. He took the wallet from her hands. Lily's fingers didn't want to let go, but she forced herself to release it and walked over to his desk to make a phone call. Lily stood in the middle of that beautiful lobby, feeling like a stain on a clean white shirt. Other people walked past her, men in suits and women in high heels, and they looked at her the way people look at trash on the sidewalk, with vague disgust, then quickly looking away. A woman in a fur coat actually pulled her purse closer to her body when she walked past Lily, as if Lily might snatch it. After what felt like forever but was probably only 5 minutes, the security guard came back. "Someone's coming down to get it," he said. He didn't say thank you. He didn't smile. He just watched her like she might try to steal something else. "Can I go now?" Lily asked quietly. "You should wait," the guard said. "They might want to talk to you." But Lily couldn't stay. Her heart was pounding too hard. She was scared that Daniel Cross might be angry about the $100. She was scared he might call the police like she'd said in her note. She was scared of a lot of things. And Tommy was alone back at the building, sick and probably scared too. She needed to get back to him. "I have to go," Lily said. Before the guard could stop her, she turned and ran out of the lobby, pushing through the heavy glass doors and disappearing into the crowded street. The guard called after her, but she didn't stop. She ran and ran until her lungs burned and her legs ached, and then she kept running. She ran all the way back to her side of town where the buildings were broken and the people looked as tired and defeated as she felt. She ran back to the abandoned factory where Tommy was waiting. When she finally got there, gasping for breath and feeling like her heart might explode, Tommy was awake. He was sitting up in their makeshift bed, his face pale and sweaty, coughing into his small fist. "Lily," he said weakly, "where did you go? I was scared." Lily rushed over and hugged him tight, feeling his hot forehead against her cheek. "I'm here, Tommy, I'm here, and look, I got us food, real food, and better medicine for you." She pulled out the bread and peanut butter and milk and apples, and Tommy's eyes got wide. They ate together, making sandwiches with shaking hands because they were so hungry, and for just a little while everything felt almost okay. But as Lily watched her little brother eat, she couldn't stop thinking about the wallet, about the note she'd left, about what Daniel Cross would think when he read it. She wondered if he'd be angry. She wondered if police would somehow track them down. She wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. Most of all, she wondered if she'd ever know whether she'd done the right thing. The next morning, Daniel Cross woke up feeling the same emptiness he felt every day, but now it was mixed with something sharper: loss. He went through his morning routine like a robot: shower, shave, expensive suit, coffee he didn't taste. But his hand kept reaching for the wallet that wasn't there, and each time he felt that photograph of his mother slipping further away from him forever. He was sitting at his desk at 8 in the morning, staring blankly at his computer screen, when his assistant Peter knocked on the door with an expression Daniel had never seen before. Peter looked excited, actually excited. "Mr. Cross," Peter said, slightly out of breath. "Your wallet." Someone returned it. Daniel's head snapped up so fast his neck cracked. What, when, where? "Last night, apparently. A young girl brought it to the lobby around 6 o'clock. Security called up here, but you'd already left for the day. They've been holding it in the security office. I just found out this morning when I came in." Daniel was already on his feet, moving toward the door. He didn't wait for the elevator. He took the stairs, running down 47 flights like his life depended on it. By the time he reached the lobby, his heart was hammering in his chest and his perfectly styled hair was a mess. The security guard from the night shift was still there, getting ready to leave. His name was Robert, and he'd worked in the building for 12 years. He'd seen Daniel Cross maybe 100 times, but had never seen him look like this: disheveled, breathless, desperate. "Mr. Cross," Robert said, reaching under his desk, "I was going to send this up to your office this morning." He pulled out the black leather wallet. Daniel grabbed it with both hands like it was made of gold. He opened it immediately, and the first thing he saw was the photograph of his mother, still there, safe. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Relief flooded through him so powerfully that his knees felt weak. Then he saw the note. It was written on a wrinkled piece of paper that looked like it had been used before. There were eraser marks and smudges on the back. The handwriting was careful and neat, but childish. The letters were formed slowly, deliberately, like someone who was trying very hard to be understood. Daniel read the note once, then again, then a third time. With each reading, something inside his chest grew tighter and tighter until he thought it might crack open. "Dear Mr. Daniel Cross, I found your wallet on Michigan Avenue. I'm sorry, but I took $100 to buy food and medicine for my little brother Tommy. He's 6 and he's really sick and we haven't eaten in 3 days. I know stealing is wrong and my mama taught me better than that. I'm so sorry. I put the change back in. That's $62.15. I wanted to return everything because it's not mine. I know $100 is probably not a lot of money to you because you have so much, but it means everything to us. I'm sorry again. I hope you can forgive me. Your wallet also has a picture of a really pretty lady with a little boy. She looks like she loved you very much. I hope you still have her in your life. Thank you for understanding. Lily. P.S. If you want to call the police on me, I understand. I deserve it." Daniel's hands started shaking. He looked at Robert with eyes that suddenly seemed very different from the cold, distant eyes the guard was used to seeing. "The girl who brought this," Daniel said, his voice cracking slightly. "Where is she? Is she still here?" Robert shook his head. "She ran off before I could stop her, came in around 6 last night, handed me the wallet, and then bolted out the door like she was scared. I tried to call her back, but she was fast." "What did she look like?" Robert thought for a moment. Young, maybe 8 or 9 years old, brown hair, kind of messy, wearing an old coat that was too big for her. Her face was dirty. "And she looked," he paused, choosing his words carefully. "She looked like she'd been living rough, if you know what I mean." Daniel looked back down at the note. "We haven't eaten in 3 days." The words seemed to burn into his eyes. He looked inside the wallet. All his credit cards were still there. All his cash was still there too, except for exactly $100. And there was the change, exactly $62.15, just like the note said. This child, this starving child, had found $8,000. She could have kept all of it. She could have changed her life and her brother's life. Instead, she took only what she desperately needed, returned everything else, left an apology note, and even gave back the change. Something broke inside Daniel at that moment, or maybe something that had been broken for a long time finally started to heal. He couldn't quite tell, but tears started filling his eyes for the first time in over 20 years. He tried to blink them away, but they kept coming. "Mr. Cross," Robert asked, concerned, "are you all right, sir?" Daniel wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, not caring that he probably looked ridiculous. "This girl," he said quietly, "did she say anything else? Anything about where she lives, where I could find her?" No, sir, she just said she found your wallet and gave the address here, then she ran off. I'm sorry, I should have stopped her, but I didn't think. It's not your fault, Daniel interrupted. He stared at the note again. My little brother Tommy, he's 6 and he's really sick. The words made his stomach twist. Somewhere in this city right now, there was a 6-year-old boy and his brave older sister living in conditions Daniel couldn't even imagine. And they had saved his wallet. They had shown more character and integrity than most of the wealthy business people he dealt with every single day. Daniel looked up at Robert. I need to find her, this girl Lily, I need to find her and help her. Robert's expression softened. In 12 years of working security at Cross Tower, he'd seen Daniel Cross exactly twice act like a human being instead of a walking corporation. This was one of those times. I don't know how you do that, Mr. Cross. She didn't leave any contact information, and this city's got thousands of homeless kids. But Daniel wasn't listening anymore. His mind was already working, planning, calculating. He was a businessman. He solved problems for a living. This was just another problem to solve. Except this time the stakes weren't profit margins or stock prices. This time the stakes were 2 children who might not survive the winter. For the next 3 days, Daniel became a man possessed. He canceled all his meetings. He ignored the frustrated calls from investors and business partners. For the first time in his adult life, making money didn't matter to him. Finding Lily and Tommy mattered, nothing else. He started by hearing a private investigator named Marcus Shaw, a former police detective who specialized in finding missing persons. Marcus came to Daniel's office that first afternoon, a grizzled man in his 50s with tired eyes that had seen too much of the world's darkness. Daniel handed him the note. I need you to find the girl who wrote this. Marcus read it carefully, then looked up at Daniel with a mixture of respect and sadness. This is going to be hard, Mr. Cross. Do you know how many homeless children there are in Chicago? Thousands, most of them invisible. Most of them don't want to be found because they're scared of the system. I don't care how hard it is, Daniel said firmly. Find her, money is not an issue, whatever it takes. Marcus nodded slowly. All right, I'll need some time. Based on this note, we're looking for a girl named Lily, maybe 8 to 10 years old, with a younger brother named Tommy, around 6. They're homeless, probably living on the streets or in an abandoned building. The brother is sick. That narrows it down a little, but not much. How long? Daniel asked. Could be days, could be weeks. These kids know how to disappear. Find her, Daniel repeated, please. But she was fast. What did she look like? Robert thought for a moment. Young, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Brown hair, kind of messy, wearing an old coat that was too big for her. Her face was dirty and she looked... He paused, choosing his words carefully. She looked like she'd been living rough, if you know what I mean. Daniel looked back down at the note. We haven't eaten in 3 days. The words seemed to burn into his eyes. He looked inside the wallet. All his credit cards were still there. All his cash was still there too, except for exactly $100. And there was the change, exactly $62.15, just like the note said. This child, this starving child, had found $8,000. She could have kept all of it. She could have changed her life and her brother's life. Instead, she took only what she desperately needed, returned everything else, left an apology note, and even gave back the change. Something broke inside Daniel at that moment, or maybe something that had been broken for a long time finally started to heal. He couldn't quite tell, but tears started filling his eyes for the first time in over 20 years. He tried to blink them away, but they kept coming. Mr. Cross, Robert asked, concerned, are you all right, sir? Daniel wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, not caring that he probably looked ridiculous. This girl, he said quietly, did she say anything else? Anything about where she lives, where I could find her? No, sir, she just said she found your wallet and gave the address here, then she ran off. I'm sorry, I should have stopped her, but I didn't think. It's not your fault, Daniel interrupted. He stared at the note again. My little brother Tommy, he's 6 and he's really sick. The words made his stomach twist. Somewhere in this city right now, there was a 6-year-old boy and his brave older sister living in conditions Daniel couldn't even imagine. And they had saved his wallet. They had shown more character and integrity than most of the wealthy business people he dealt with every single day. Daniel looked up at Robert. I need to find her, this girl Lily, I need to find her and help her. Robert's expression softened. In 12 years of working security at Cross Tower, he'd seen Daniel Cross exactly twice act like a human being instead of a walking corporation. This was one of those times. I don't know how you do that, Mr. Cross. She didn't leave any contact information, and this city's got thousands of homeless kids. But Daniel wasn't listening anymore. His mind was already working, planning, calculating. He was a businessman. He solved problems for a living. This was just another problem to solve. Except this time the stakes weren't profit margins or stock prices. This time the stakes were 2 children who might not survive the winter. For the next 3 days, Daniel became a man possessed. He canceled all his meetings. He ignored the frustrated calls from investors and business partners. For the first time in his adult life, making money didn't matter to him. Finding Lily and Tommy mattered, nothing else. He started by hearing a private investigator named Marcus Shaw, a former police detective who specialized in finding missing persons. Marcus came to Daniel's office that first afternoon, a grizzled man in his 50s with tired eyes that had seen too much of the world's darkness. Daniel handed him the note. "I need you to find the girl who wrote this." Marcus read it carefully, then looked up at Daniel with a mixture of respect and sadness. "This is going to be hard, Mr. Cross. Do you know how many homeless children there are in Chicago? Thousands, most of them invisible. Most of them don't want to be found because they're scared of the system." "I don't care how hard it is," Daniel said firmly. "Find her. Money is not an issue, whatever it takes." Marcus nodded slowly. "All right, I'll need some time. Based on this note, we're looking for a girl named Lily, maybe 8 to 10 years old, with a younger brother named Tommy, around 6. They're homeless, probably living on the streets or in an abandoned building. The brother is sick. That narrows it down a little, but not much." "How long?" Daniel asked. "Could be days, could be weeks. These kids know how to disappear." "Find her," Daniel repeated, "please." While Marcus started his investigation, Daniel did something he'd never done before in his entire life. He went to the streets. Not just the nice streets where he usually walked, but the real streets. The parts of Chicago where poverty wasn't just a statistic, it was a living, breathing reality that hit you in the face the moment you turned the corner. He drove to the shelter districts, the soup kitchens, the areas where homeless people gathered. He showed Lily's note to social workers and shelter volunteers. Most of them shook their heads sadly. One older woman who ran a soup kitchen on the south side looked at the note for a long time, then looked up at Daniel with eyes full of sorrow. "Mr. Cross," she said gently, "I see dozens of children like this every week. Brave kids trying to take care of younger siblings, kids who have been abandoned or lost their parents, kids living in cars in abandoned buildings under bridges. The system is overwhelmed, there aren't enough resources. And the ones who are most scared, the ones like your Lily, they avoid places like this because they're terrified someone will separate them from their siblings." "So what do I do?" Daniel asked, and for the first time in his life he truly felt helpless. "Keep looking," the woman said, "and pray you find them before winter gets worse. A 6-year-old living on the streets," she shook her head. "Time is not on your side." Those words haunted Daniel. Every night when he went home to his warm, comfortable apartment, he thought about Tommy and Lily somewhere out in the cold. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. His staff started whispering that something was wrong with him. His business partners left increasingly angry voicemails that he didn't return. On the 4th day, Marcus called with the first real lead. "I talked to some kids living near the train yards," Marcus said. "They mentioned a girl matching Lily's description, said she has a little brother and they've been seen around the Riverside Street area. There's an old abandoned furniture factory there. A lot of homeless people use it for shelter." Daniel was in his car before Marcus finished the sentence. "Text me the address, I'm going there now." "Mr. Cross, wait, you should let me handle this. These situations can be delicate. If you come on too strong, you might scare them off and then we'll never find them." But Daniel couldn't wait, not another minute, not another second. "Send me the address," he repeated and hung up. 20 minutes later, Daniel pulled his expensive car onto Riverside Street and immediately felt like he'd entered a different country. The buildings here were falling apart. Trash lined the streets. Groups of people huddled around barrel fires trying to stay warm. Everyone looked at his luxury car with a mixture of suspicion and resentment. Daniel parked and got out, immediately feeling eyes on him. His suit probably cost more than most of these people made in a year. He stuck out like a diamond in a coal mine. He walked toward the abandoned factory Marcus had mentioned, his heart pounding harder with each step. The building was massive and falling apart. Most of the windows were broken. The door hung off its hinges. Daniel stepped inside carefully and the smell hit him immediately: mold, decay, human waste, despair. It was dark inside despite being the middle of the day. The winter sun barely penetrated the broken windows. "Hello," Daniel called out, his voice echoed through the empty space. "Is anyone here? I'm looking for Lily and Tommy. I'm not here to hurt you, I just want to help." Silence, then from somewhere deep in the building a sound, a cough, a child's cough. Daniel's heart leaped. He moved toward the sound, picking his way carefully through the debris and garbage. "Lily, Tommy, my name is Daniel Cross. You returned my wallet. I just want to say thank you. Please, I'm not going to hurt you." He turned a corner and stopped dead. There, in the corner of what used to be an office, huddled under a pile of old coats and blankets, were two children. A girl with tangled brown hair and a face smudged with dirt was holding a small boy protectively. The boy was pale and sweating despite the cold, and he was coughing in a way that made Daniel's chest hurt just hearing it. The girl, Lily, it had to be Lily, stared at Daniel with wide, terrified eyes. She held her brother tighter. "Please don't call the police," she whispered. "Please, we'll leave, we'll go somewhere else, just don't separate us, please." Daniel felt his knees go weak. These were the children who had saved his wallet. This brave little girl who had chosen honesty over survival. This sick little boy who couldn't be more than 6 years old, living here in this cold, horrible place, starving, sick, scared. And suddenly, Daniel Cross, the billionaire who owned half of downtown Chicago, the man who commanded boardrooms full of powerful executives, the man who hadn't cried since he was 11 years old, dropped to his knees in that filthy abandoned factory and started sobbing. "I'm not here to call the police," he managed to say through his tears. "I'm here because you saved my life, you saved my mother's picture, you showed me something I'd forgotten existed, and I'm here to help you. Please, please let me help you." Lily stared at him, her young face confused and uncertain. No adult had ever cried in front of her before. No adult had ever begged her for anything. She held Tommy tighter, not sure whether to run or stay. "You're the wallet man?" she asked quietly. Daniel nodded, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. "Yes, Daniel Cross, you returned my wallet. You left me a note, the most honest, brave note I've ever read in my life." "Are you mad about the $100? Lily asked, her voice trembling. "I put the change back, all of it. I counted it 3 times to make sure." Daniel shook his head, fresh tears streaming down his face. "Mad, Lily, you could have kept everything. You could have taken all $8,000 and I wouldn't have blamed you. You were starving, your brother was sick, but instead you took only what you needed, returned the rest, and apologized. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how extraordinary you are?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I just did what Mama taught me before she left. She said to always do the right thing." "Your mother was a wise woman," Daniel said softly. He slowly stood up, moving carefully so he wouldn't scare them. "Lily, Tommy, how long have you been living here?" 6 months, Lily said quietly, "since Mama left." Daniel felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. 6 months. These children had survived on their own for 6 months. "And Tommy," Daniel said, looking at the pale, sweating boy, "how long has he been sick?" "About a week," Lily said. "I bought him medicine with the money from your wallet, the good kind, not the cheap kind, but it's not helping much." Daniel looked at Tommy's flushed face, heard his labored breathing and terrible cough, and made a decision right then and there that would change all 3 of their lives forever. "We need to get Tommy to a hospital," Daniel said firmly. "Right now, he sounds like he has pneumonia. If we don't get him help, he could die." Lily's face went white. "Hospital, but they'll call social services. They'll separate us. Tommy's all I have. I can't." "I won't let them separate you," Daniel interrupted. His voice was strong and certain. "I promise you, Lily, on my mother's grave, I promise you, I will not let anyone separate you and Tommy, but we need to get him to a doctor right now or you might lose him anyway. Please trust me." Lily looked down at Tommy, who was breathing rapidly and seemed barely conscious. She'd been so scared of losing him to the system that she hadn't let herself admit how sick he really was, but looking at him now, she couldn't deny it anymore. He was dying. Her baby brother was dying and she couldn't save him alone. "Okay," she whispered, "okay." Daniel moved forward quickly. He scooped Tommy up in his arms. The boy weighed almost nothing, just skin and bones wrapped in tattered clothes, and headed for the door. Lily scrambled after him, grabbing their few possessions and stuffing them into a torn backpack. Outside, people stared as Daniel Cross, billionaire, carried a sick homeless child to his luxury car. He didn't care. He didn't care about anything except getting Tommy help. He placed Tommy gently in the back seat and Lily climbed in next to him, cradling her brother's head in her lap. Daniel got in the driver's seat and drove faster than he'd ever driven in his life. He called ahead to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he sat on the board of directors, and told them he was bringing in a critical pediatric case and needed their best doctors ready immediately. The whole drive, Lily whispered to Tommy, "Stay with me, Tommy. Please stay with me. Don't leave me. You're all I have. Please, please stay." And Daniel, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white, prayed to a god he hadn't spoken to since his mother died. "Please, please let this boy survive. Please give me a chance to save them both, please." By the time they screeched into the hospital emergency entrance, Tommy's breathing had become so shallow that Lily was screaming his name, begging him to wake up. Medical staff rushed out with a gurney. They took one look at Tommy's condition and immediately went into crisis mode. "Possible pneumonia, severe dehydration, malnutrition," one doctor shouted. "Get him to ICU now." They lifted Tommy onto the gurney and Lily tried to climb up with him, but a nurse gently held her back. "Sweetheart, we need to take him to help him. You can come with us, but you need to stay back so we can work." "No," Lily screamed, trying to pull away. "Don't take him, don't take my brother." Daniel grabbed Lily gently but firmly. "They're going to save him, Lily. They're the best doctors in the city, but you have to let them work. I'm right here. I'm not leaving you." Lily collapsed against Daniel, sobbing so hard her entire body shook as they watched the medical team rush Tommy through the emergency doors. And Daniel held this brave, broken little girl who had saved his wallet and somehow his soul, while she cried for the brother who might not make it through the night. The waiting room at Northwestern Memorial Hospital became Daniel Cross's entire world for the next 8 hours. He sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair with Lily curled up beside him, her small body pressed against his side like she was afraid he might disappear if she let go. She hadn't spoken since they took Tommy away. She just sat there, staring at the double doors that led to the intensive care unit, waiting for news that might destroy her. Daniel had his arm around her shoulders and he realized with a strange shock that this was the first time in years, maybe decades, that he'd held another human being like this. Not a handshake, not a professional embrace at some charity event, but real human contact born from genuine care and fear and desperate hope. Around them, the hospital moved with its usual chaos. Families came and went. Ambulances arrived with sirens blaring. Nurses rushed past with clipboards and worried expressions. But Daniel and Lily existed in their own bubble of terrible waiting where every second felt like an hour and every hour felt like a lifetime. At some point, a hospital administrator named Patricia Henley appeared. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes but a bureaucratic air that made Daniel immediately tense up. She sat down across from them with a tablet in her hands. "Mr. Cross," she said gently, "I need to ask you some questions about the boy we just admitted, Tommy, correct?" Daniel nodded, his arm tightening protectively around Lily. "What's his last name, and what's your relationship to him?" Lily finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Bennett, Tommy Bennett, and I'm his sister, Lily Bennett." Patricia typed something on her tablet. "And where are your parents, sweetheart?" Lily's whole body went rigid. Daniel felt her start to shake. "Please," Lily said, tears streaming down her dirty face. "Please don't call social services. Please don't take me away from Tommy. He needs me. I'm all he has." Patricia's expression softened, but her voice remained professional. "Honey, if you and your brother are living without proper adult supervision, I'm required by law to report it. It's for your own safety." "No." Lily pulled away from Daniel and stood up, backing toward the exit. Her eyes were wild with panic. "I won't let you separate us. I'd rather die on the streets with Tommy than lose him to some foster home where I'll never see him again." "Lily, wait," Daniel started to say, but she was already running toward the doors. Without thinking, Daniel jumped up and caught her before she could escape. She fought against him, small fists pounding against his chest, but he held her firmly but gently. "Lily, stop. Listen to me. I promised you I wouldn't let anyone separate you. Do you remember?" "You can't stop them," Lily sobbed. "Nobody can stop them. They'll take Tommy and I'll never see him again and he'll think I abandoned him like Mama did and—" "I can stop them," Daniel said firmly, looking directly into her eyes. "Lily, do you know who I am? Really know who I am?" Lily shook her head, confused through her tears. I own this hospital, Daniel said. Well, I'm on the board of directors, which means I have a lot of power here, and I have even more power outside of here. I have the best lawyers in Chicago. I have connections to judges and social workers in every part of the system you're afraid of. And I give you my word, my absolute word, that I will use every bit of that power to make sure you and Tommy stay together. But you have to trust me. Can you do that? Lily searched his face looking for lies or false promises, but all she saw was fierce determination and something that looked almost like desperation. Slowly, she nodded. Daniel turned to Patricia, who had been watching this exchange with growing understanding. Patricia, I'm taking personal responsibility for both of these children. I want you to list me as their guardian on all paperwork effective immediately. Patricia's eyebrows shot up. Mr. Cross, it doesn't work that way. You can't just declare yourself someone's guardian. There are legal procedures, background checks, home studies. Then start those procedures right now, Daniel interrupted. Tonight, I want the best family law attorney in Illinois on the phone within the hour. I want emergency guardianship papers filed first thing tomorrow morning. I don't care what it costs or what strings I have to pull. These children are not going into the system. Not tonight, not ever. Are we clear? Patricia stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. I'll make the calls, but Mr. Cross, even with your influence, this is going to take time. Social services will still need to be notified. Then notify them that the children are in my care and that legal proceedings are underway. Tell them I'm providing housing, food, medical care, and anything else they need. Tell them I'll cooperate fully with any investigation they want to conduct. But these kids don't leave my sight until the paperwork is finalized. Patricia looked at Lily, who was staring at Daniel like he'd just performed a miracle, then back at Daniel. You're really doing this? Taking in 2 homeless children you just met? Daniel thought about the note in his wallet, about Lily's choice to return his money when she was starving, about her courage in caring for her brother alone for 6 months, about the kind of character and integrity these children possessed that most adults he knew could never hope to match. Yes, he said simply, I'm really doing this. Patricia stood up. All right, I'll start making the calls, but Mr. Cross, this is going to change your entire life. You understand that, right? Daniel looked down at Lily, who had grabbed his hand and was holding it like a lifeline. I'm counting on it, he said quietly. At midnight, a doctor finally emerged from the ICU. Her name was Dr. Rachel Chen, and she looked exhausted. Daniel and Lily both jumped to their feet the moment they saw her. He's alive, Dr. Chen said immediately, and Lily let out a sound that was half sob, half laugh. But I won't lie to you, it was close. Tommy has severe pneumonia in both lungs, acute malnutrition, and his immune system is severely compromised. If you'd waited even one more day to bring him in, we'd be having a very different conversation right now. Lily's knees buckled and Daniel caught her. Can I see him? She asked desperately. Please, I need to see him. Dr. Chen hesitated. He's sedated right now and he looks pretty scary with all the tubes and monitors. Are you sure you're ready for that? I've been ready, Lily said firmly. He's my brother, I need to see him. Dr. Chen nodded and led them back through the double doors, down a series of hallways, and into the pediatric ICU. The unit was dimly lit and eerily quiet except for the constant beeping of monitors. Dr. Chen stopped at a room where a small figure lay in a bed that looked far too big for him. Tommy was surrounded by machines. A breathing tube was taped to his face. IVs ran into both arms. Monitors tracked his heart rate, oxygen levels, and a dozen other vital signs that Daniel didn't understand. His skin was pale as paper and he looked impossibly small and fragile. Lily walked to the bedside slowly like she was approaching something sacred. She reached out with a trembling hand and touched Tommy's forehead. Hey Tommy, she whispered, it's me, I'm here, I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. You're going to be okay now, I promise. Daniel stood in the doorway, his throat tight, watching this 9-year-old girl who had been carrying the weight of the world on her tiny shoulders finally let herself hope that someone else might help her carry it. The next 72 hours are critical, Dr. Chen said softly to Daniel. If he makes it through that, his chances improve significantly, but I need to be honest, he's very sick. We're doing everything we can, but there are no guarantees. What does he need? Daniel asked. Besides what you're already doing, what else can help? Dr. Chen looked surprised by the question. Well, assuming he stabilizes, he'll need weeks of recovery, proper nutrition to address the malnutrition, physical therapy to regain his strength, a warm, stable environment, and probably counseling for both children to process the trauma they've experienced. He'll have all of that, Daniel said firmly. Whatever he needs, whatever they both need, cost is not an issue. Dr. Chen studied Daniel for a moment. Mr. Cross, I don't know what your relationship is to these children, but what you're doing, it's extraordinary. Most people wouldn't. Most people didn't find a note like the one Lily left me, Daniel interrupted. Most people don't meet children this brave. I'm not being extraordinary. I'm just trying to match even a fraction of the character these kids have already shown. Daniel insisted that a cot be brought into Tommy's room so Lily could sleep near her brother. She refused to leave his side, even when exhaustion finally overtook her around 3 in the morning. Daniel sat in a chair in the corner, watching both children sleep, and tried to process what his life had become in less than 12 hours. This morning, he'd been Daniel Cross, billionaire, living in his isolated tower, feeling nothing, caring about nothing. Now he was sitting in a hospital room, responsible for 2 homeless children, having promised to keep them together and take care of them, and he had absolutely no idea how to actually do that. He'd never had children, he'd never even thought about having children. He didn't know the first thing about raising kids. He didn't know what 9-year-olds liked or how to talk to 6-year-olds or what bedtime was supposed to be. Or whether they needed special food, or if there were rules about television, or any of the million things that parents probably just knew somehow. But as he sat there watching Lily sleep, her face finally peaceful for the first time since he'd met her, Daniel realized something. He didn't need to know everything, he just needed to care. And for the first time in 26 years since his mother had died and left him alone in a world that valued money over love, Daniel Cross cared about something more than business. His phone buzzed around 5 in the morning. It was Marcus, the private investigator. Daniel stepped out of the room to take the call. "I heard you found them," Marcus said. "Word travels fast in my line of work. The boy going to make it?" "We don't know yet," Daniel said quietly. "The next few days are critical." "I also heard you're trying to get emergency guardianship. Mr. Cross, I have to ask, are you sure about this? These kids come with a lot of baggage. Trauma, medical issues, probably behavioral problems down the line. You're a businessman, not a social worker. This is going to be hard in ways you can't imagine." Daniel thought about Lily's note, about her courage, about her choice to do the right thing when it would have been so much easier to do the wrong thing. "Marcus, I've spent 26 years building companies and making money and not caring about anything real. And I was miserable. These kids, they've lost everything and they still have more integrity than anyone in my world. If they can be that strong, that good after everything they've been through, then the least I can do is try to match their courage. Even if I fail, at least I'll fail trying to do something that matters." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "All right then, I'll help however I can. I know some people in child services who owe me favors. I'll make some calls, smooth things over, make sure they understand these kids are in good hands." "Thank you," Daniel said, and he meant it. Over the next 3 days, Daniel barely left the hospital. He had his assistant bring him fresh clothes. He showered in the hospital gym facilities. He ate cafeteria food and drank terrible coffee and conducted business meetings via video call from Tommy's hospital room. His business partners were furious. His investors were confused, but Daniel didn't care. Lily stayed by Tommy's side constantly. Nurses brought her food, which she ate mechanically, never taking her eyes off her brother. Daniel watched her and saw the same desperate vigilance he'd felt when his mother was dying. The same terror that if you looked away for even a second, the person you loved might slip away forever. On the second day, a social worker named Janet Rodriguez arrived to investigate the situation. She was a tired-looking woman in her 40s who'd clearly seen too much suffering in her career. Daniel met with her in a private conference room while Lily stayed with Tommy. "Mr. Cross," Janet said, pulling out a thick folder of paperwork. "I'm here to assess whether these children should remain in your care or be placed in state custody while we locate suitable foster placement." "They're staying with me," Daniel said immediately. Janet gave him a look that suggested she'd heard similar declarations from well-meaning people before, and most of them hadn't worked out. "Mr. Cross, I appreciate your concern for these children, but emergency guardianship isn't something we grant lightly. You're a single man with no parenting experience. You work long hours in a high-stress job. You have no family support system, and you've known these children for less than a week." "I have unlimited resources to provide them with the best care possible," Daniel countered. I can hire nannies, tutors, therapists, whatever they need. I have a penthouse apartment with more than enough room. And most importantly, I made a promise to Lily that I wouldn't let her and Tommy be separated. That little girl has already been abandoned by one adult in her life. I won't be the second. Janet sighed. Your intentions are admirable, but intentions aren't enough. These children have been through severe trauma. They'll need specialized care, therapy, stability. Can you really provide that while running a business empire? Daniel leaned forward. Ms. Rodriguez, let me ask you something. How many children are in foster care in Illinois right now? Janet looked surprised by the question. Around 16,000. And how many of them are living in stable, loving homes with all the resources they need to heal and thrive? Janet's expression tightened. Not enough, never enough. Exactly, Daniel said. The system is overwhelmed. I've done my research over the past 2 days. If Lily and Tommy go into foster care, there's a very real chance they'll be separated despite what anyone promises. And even if they're placed together initially, statistics show they'll likely be moved multiple times, possibly split up eventually, and age out of the system without ever having a real home. Am I wrong? Janet didn't answer, which was answer enough. I'm not saying I'm the perfect solution, Daniel continued. I'm not saying I know what I'm doing because I don't. But I do know that I have the resources and the determination to give these kids a chance at a real life. And I know that Lily saved something precious to me, not just my wallet, but a photograph of my mother that's the only one I have left. She did that while she was starving. That tells me everything I need to know about her character. These kids deserve someone who will fight for them. Let me be that person. Janet studied him for a long moment. If I recommend emergency placement with you, there will be conditions, home inspections, regular check-ins, mandatory therapy for the children, parenting classes for you, any sign that this arrangement isn't working, and will remove them immediately. Are you prepared for that level of oversight? Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. Janet made some notes on her paperwork. I'll need to interview Lily as well, and I want to see your living situation. Can you arrange that? Absolutely, whatever you need. After the meeting, Daniel returned to Tommy's room to find Lily sitting exactly where he'd left her, holding Tommy's hand and talking to him quietly even though Tommy was still sedated. The social worker wants to talk to you, Daniel said gently. Her name is Ms. Rodriguez. She's going to ask you some questions about living with me. Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. What if she says no? What if they take us away? Daniel knelt down beside her chair. Then I'll fight it. I'll get lawyers. I'll appeal to every judge in Illinois if I have to. But Lily, she needs to hear from you that this is what you want. Is it? Do you want to stay with me? Lily looked at him with those old, wise eyes that had seen far too much for a 9-year-old. You're really going to take care of us, both of us, forever. Forever, Daniel promised. Or at least until you're old enough to decide you want something different. But yes, if you'll let me, I want to be your family. Tears filled Lily's eyes. Why, you don't even know us, we're nobody, we're just... You're not nobody, Daniel interrupted firmly. You're the girl who showed me what real integrity looks like. You're the girl who chose honesty over survival. You're the sister who kept her brother alive for 6 months through sheer determination. Lily, you're extraordinary, both of you are, and I would be honored if you'd let me help you. Lily threw her arms around Daniel's neck and sobbed. And Daniel held her and thought about how strange it was that less than a week ago, he'd thought his life couldn't get any emptier. Now, holding this broken, brave little girl while her brother fought for his life in the hospital bed beside them, he felt more full than he had in decades. On the 3rd day, Tommy opened his eyes. Lily was dozing in her cot when the monitors started beeping differently. She jerked awake immediately and saw Tommy's eyes fluttering open. Tommy, she screamed, jumping up. Tommy, can you hear me? Nurses rushed in, checking Tommy's vitals and adjusting his medications. Dr. Chen appeared moments later, examining Tommy carefully while Lily hovered anxiously nearby, afraid to hope too much. Hey there, buddy, Dr. Chen said softly to Tommy. I'm Dr. Chen, you're in the hospital, you've been very sick but you're getting better, can you squeeze my hand if you understand me? Tommy's small hand twitched, then squeezed weakly. Dr. Chen smiled, good boy, you're going to be just fine. She stepped back and looked at Lily. He's through the worst of it, he'll need to stay here for at least another week while his lungs heal and we get some weight on him, but he's going to recover. Lily burst into tears, not the desperate, terrified tears she'd been crying for days, but tears of pure relief and joy. She grabbed Tommy's hand and pressed it to her cheek. "You're okay," she kept saying. "You're okay, I knew you'd be okay, I knew it." Tommy tried to talk, but the breathing tube prevented it. He looked confused and scared. Lily leaned close to his ear. "It's okay, Tommy, you're safe. This is a hospital. They're helping you get better. And Tommy, we have someone who's going to take care of us now. His name is Daniel and he's good. He's really good. We're going to be okay now, both of us." Daniel watched from the doorway, his heart so full it hurt. These children, these incredible, resilient children were going to survive. They were going to have a chance at a real life, and somehow, impossibly, they were going to be his responsibility, his purpose, maybe even his family. His phone rang. It was his attorney, Charles Morrison, one of the best family law lawyers in Illinois. "Daniel, I've got good news. The judge has agreed to an emergency guardianship hearing for tomorrow morning. Given your resources and the social worker's recommendation, I'm confident we'll get approval. You'll need to be there at 9 a.m. sharp." "I'll be there," Daniel said. "Charles, make sure this is airtight. I don't want any possibility of these kids being taken away later." Tommy looked at Lily, who nodded encouragingly. Then he looked back at Daniel and slowly held out his small hand. "Okay," he said quietly, "you can be our family." Daniel took Tommy's hand gently and shook it, feeling like he was making the most important business deal of his entire life. "Thank you, Tommy. I promise I'll do my best to deserve that trust." Tommy was released from the hospital 4 days later. Daniel had spent those days preparing his penthouse apartment for 2 children, something he'd never imagined doing. He'd hired an interior designer who specialized in child-friendly spaces, and together they'd transformed 2 of his guest rooms. Lily's room was painted a soft lavender color she'd picked out herself. There was a large bed with what seemed like a million pillows, a desk for homework, bookshelves that Daniel had already filled with books he thought she might like, and a window seat where she could look out over the city. The closet was stocked with new clothes in her size. There were art supplies and journals and everything the designer said a 9-year-old girl might want. Tommy's room was painted blue with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. The bed was shaped like a race car, which Daniel hoped a 6-year-old would think was cool. There were toy boxes full of age-appropriate toys, more clothes, stuffed animals, and a bookshelf with picture books and early readers. The main bathroom had been updated with kid-friendly step stools and child-safe locks on the cabinets. The kitchen had been stocked with foods children actually liked, not just the fancy gourmet items Daniel usually ate. And most importantly, the entire apartment had been child-proofed by a professional service. When Daniel pulled up to his building with both children in the car, he suddenly felt nervous in a way he'd never felt before a business meeting. What if they hated it? What if it was too much? What if he'd made it look like some kind of museum instead of a home? "We're here," he said, parking in his private garage space. "Are you guys ready to see your new home?" Lily and Tommy exchanged glances. They'd been quiet during the drive, and Daniel worried they were having second thoughts. They took the private elevator up to the penthouse. When the doors opened directly into Daniel's, their apartment, both children stood frozen in the elevator, staring. The penthouse was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the entire Chicago skyline. The furniture was expensive but comfortable. Everything was clean and bright and warm, so different from the abandoned factory where they'd been living. "This is where we're going to live," Tommy whispered, his eyes huge. "This is home," Daniel confirmed, his heart in his throat. "Do you want to see your rooms?" He led them down the hallway, opening Lily's door first. Lily walked in slowly, turning in a circle to take it all in. She touched the soft bedspread, ran her fingers along the book spines, stood at the window looking out at the city below. "This is all mine?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "All yours," Daniel confirmed. "We can change anything you don't like, different colors, different furniture, whatever you want." Lily turned to face him and her eyes were filled with tears. "I never thought," she started, then couldn't finish. She just ran to Daniel and hugged him as tight as she could. Tommy's reaction to his room was different but equally moving. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, then slowly walked to the race car bed and climbed onto it. He lay down and stared up at the stars on the ceiling. "Tommy," Daniel asked gently, "do you like it?" Tommy nodded, but tears were running down his face. "I like it a lot," he said in a small voice, "but I'm scared." Daniel sat on the edge of the bed. "Scared of what, buddy?" That this is a dream, that I'll wake up and we'll be back in the cold building and you'll be gone and everything will be bad again. Daniel felt his heart break a little more. He lay down on the bed next to Tommy, both of them staring up at the glowing stars. I understand that fear, he said quietly. When my mom died and I was all alone, I used to have dreams where she was still alive. Then I'd wake up and she'd be gone and it hurt all over again. So I get it, Tommy, I really do. What do I do? Tommy asked. You give it time, Daniel said. Every morning you'll wake up and you'll still be here. Every day Lily will still be your sister and I'll still be your guardian. And slowly, day by day, you'll start to believe that this is real, that this is forever, that you're safe now. Tommy reached over and grabbed Daniel's hand. Promise. Promise, Daniel said firmly. Lily appeared in the doorway, watching them. Can I have a question? She asked. Of course, Daniel said, sitting up. What should we call you? Mr. Cross seems weird if we're living together, but calling you Daniel seems weird too, and you're not our dad, so. Daniel hadn't thought about this. It was a good question. What do you want to call me? Lily thought about it. What if we just call you Daniel for now, and maybe someday if it feels right we can figure out something else. That works for me, Daniel said, and hey, I have a question for you both too. What? They asked in unison. Are you guys hungry? Because I ordered pizza, real pizza from the best pizza place in Chicago. It should be here any minute. Both children's faces lit up. Real pizza? Tommy asked, as if such a thing might not exist. The realest, Daniel confirmed, with whatever toppings you want. I got pepperoni, cheese, and one with vegetables just in case. 20 minutes later, they were all sitting around Daniel's enormous dining room table. A table that usually sat empty except when he had business dinners, eating pizza straight from the box and talking about nothing important. What their favorite colors were, what subjects they thought they'd like in school, what movies they'd never seen but wanted to watch. Daniel watched these two children who'd been through so much simply enjoying being children, and he realized something profound. He'd spent his entire adult life chasing success, thinking that more money, more power, more achievement would eventually make him happy. But happiness wasn't in any of those things. Happiness was sitting at a table sharing pizza with two kids who'd chosen honesty over survival. It was watching Tommy giggle at something silly. It was seeing Lily relax enough to actually be 9 years old instead of trying to be the adult. Happiness was right here, right now in this moment. The first few weeks were an adjustment for everyone. Daniel had hired a nanny named Susan Torres to help during the transition. Susan was a warm, grandmotherly woman in her 50s who'd raised 4 children of her own and had endless patience. She helped get the kids enrolled in school, took them shopping for supplies, taught Daniel basic things like bedtime routines and how to make school lunches that kids would actually eat. Lily started 4th grade at a prestigious private school near Daniel's building. The first day, she came home crying. Daniel's heart dropped when he saw her tears. What happened? He asked, kneeling down to her level. Did someone hurt you? Lily shook her head. No, everyone was so nice. My teacher is wonderful. The classroom has so many books and art supplies and everything is clean and bright, and she sobbed harder. And I realized that this is what Tommy and I missed. All those months living in the factory, we should have been in school learning and making friends and being normal kids. We lost so much time. Daniel pulled her into a hug. You didn't lose anything, Lily. You survived. You kept yourself and Tommy alive when most adults couldn't have done the same. That took incredible strength. And yes, you missed some school, but we'll catch you up. You're brilliant. Your teachers already told me so. You'll be fine. But what if the other kids find out where we came from? Lily asked. What if they know we were homeless? What if they think we're weird or gross or... Then those kids aren't worth your time, Daniel said firmly. And besides, what you went through doesn't define you. It's part of your story, but it's not all of your story. Your story also includes the fact that you're brave and honest and kind, that you love your brother enough to take care of him when you were just a child yourself, that you chose to do the right thing even when it was the hardest choice in the world. That's what defines you. Lily hugged him tighter. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. Tommy's adjustment was harder in different ways. He had nightmares almost every night, dreams about being cold, about being hungry, about Lily disappearing. He'd wake up screaming, and either Daniel or Susan would rush to his room to comfort him. One night, about 3 weeks after they'd moved in, Daniel was working late in his home office when he heard soft footsteps. Tommy appeared in the doorway, clutching a stuffed bear Daniel had bought him. Can't sleep, Daniel asked gently. Tommy shook his head. I had the bad dream again, the one where you leave us. Daniel pushed his laptop aside and held out his arms. Tommy ran to him and climbed into his lap, something he'd been doing more and more often. Daniel held him close, feeling the boy's rapid heartbeat slowly calming down. Tommy, I want to tell you something true, Daniel said quietly. I'm not going anywhere, ever, but I also know that words aren't enough. You need to see it to believe it. So here's what I promise. Every single morning when you wake up, I'll be here. Every single night when you go to bed, I'll be here. Eventually, after enough mornings and enough nights, you'll start to believe me, okay? Okay, Tommy whispered, then even quieter, Daniel. Yeah, buddy. I'm glad Lily found your wallet. Daniel felt tears spring to his eyes. Me too, Tommy, me too. 3 months after the guardianship was finalized, Daniel's life had changed in ways he never could have imagined. His penthouse, once a sterile showcase of wealth, now had toys scattered in the living room and children's drawings stuck to the refrigerator. His expensive suits had occasional mystery stains from when the kids hugged him before he could stop them. His perfectly organized schedule was constantly being disrupted by school events and doctor's appointments and moments when one of the kids just needed to talk. And he'd never been happier. His business partners couldn't understand it. You're working half the hours you used to, one of them complained during a video call. Your mind isn't on the deals anymore. You're right, Daniel admitted. It isn't, because I finally figured out that deals don't matter, buildings don't matter, money doesn't matter, not really. What matters is those 2 kids in the next room doing homework and arguing about what movie to watch tonight. That's what's real. Some people in his life got it. Marcus, the private investigator, stopped by one evening to check on them and found Daniel helping Tommy build a pillow fort in the living room while Lily read them a story she'd written at school. You look different, Marcus observed, younger somehow. I feel different, Daniel said. I feel alive. But it wasn't always easy. There were hard moments too, like when Lily's teacher called to say she'd gotten into a fight with another student who'd made fun of Tommy's secondhand backpack. Or when Tommy had a particularly bad nightmare and wouldn't let Daniel out of his sight for 2 entire days. Or when both kids got sick with the flu at the same time, and Daniel learned the hard way that parenting meant cleaning up vomit at 3 in the morning without complaining. The monthly check-ins with child services continued. Janet Rodriguez, the social worker, came by regularly to observe the family and make sure everything was going well. During her 4-month visit, she sat in the living room watching Daniel help Lily with her math homework while Tommy played quietly with his toys nearby. Mr. Cross, Janet said as she prepared to leave, I have to admit, when you first proposed this guardianship, I had my doubts. Wealthy bachelors don't usually make successful single parents, especially not to traumatized children they barely know. Daniel's heart sank, but I was wrong, Janet said with a genuine smile. These children are thriving, they're gaining weight, they're doing well in school, they're in therapy working through their trauma, and most importantly, they're happy. Really, genuinely happy. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. After she left, Daniel felt like he'd won the lottery. Not because of the money he already had, but because someone had confirmed what he'd been hoping was true, that he was doing okay at this parenting thing, that these kids were going to be all right. 5 months after they'd moved in, on a Saturday morning in late May, Daniel woke up to find both kids standing beside his bed, staring at him. Good morning, he said groggily. What's up, bad dreams? No, Lily said. She looked nervous but determined. We have something we want to ask you, something important. Daniel sat up, suddenly wide awake. Okay, what is it? Tommy climbed onto the bed and sat cross-legged next to Daniel. Lily sat on the other side. Both of them looked serious. We've been talking, Lily said carefully, and we know you're not our dad, we know that. Our real dad left before Tommy was even born, and our mom, well, she made bad choices. We get that. But you've been more of a parent to us in 5 months than anyone ever was in our whole lives, Tommy added. So we were wondering, Lily continued, if maybe, and you can say no, we'll understand, but maybe we could call you Dad, not like replacing anyone, but like, you're our dad now, the one who matters, the one who's here. Daniel felt his throat close up. He couldn't speak for a moment. When he finally found his voice, it came out rough and emotional. You want to call me Dad? Both kids nodded. Are you sure? Daniel asked. Because that's a really big deal. once you start calling me that, I'm going to take it very seriously. It means I'm your dad forever, not just temporarily. It means we're family in every way that counts." "We know," Lily said. "That's what we want." "We already feel like you're our dad anyway," Tommy added. "We just want to say it out loud." Daniel pulled both children into a hug so tight they squeaked in protest. "Then yes," he said, tears running down his face. "Yes, you can call me Dad. I would be honored. I would be so incredibly honored." "Dad," Tommy said, testing it out, then louder, "Dad." "Dad," Lily said, smiling through her own tears. And Daniel, "No, Dad," held his children close and thought about how a wallet and a note and a little girl's impossible choice had led to this moment. How the emptiest man in Chicago had become the richest man in the world, not because of money, but because of love. That evening, Daniel took the kids out for a celebration dinner at their favorite restaurant, nothing fancy, just a family pizza place they'd been to several times. As they sat in their booth eating breadsticks and laughing at Tommy's jokes, a woman at the next table leaned over. "Excuse me," she said. "I don't mean to intrude, but I just have to say you have a beautiful family. Your children are so well-behaved and clearly so loved. You're doing a wonderful job." Daniel looked at Lily and Tommy, these two incredible humans who'd chosen him just as much as he'd chosen them. "Thank you," he said, "but honestly they make it easy. I'm the lucky one." After dinner, as they walked back to the car, Tommy reached up and grabbed Daniel's hand. "Dad," he said. "Yeah, buddy. I'm not scared anymore about waking up and this being a dream. I know it's real now." Daniel squeezed his hand. "How do you know?" "Because dreams don't last this long," Tommy said wisely, "and dreams don't feel this good." That night, after both kids were tucked into bed and the apartment was quiet, Daniel pulled out his wallet, the same wallet Lily had returned to him 6 months earlier. He took out the note she'd written, now laminated to preserve it, and read it for what must have been the 100th time. "I know stealing is wrong, and my mama taught me better than that." Lily's mother had taught her well, even if that mother had ultimately failed her children. She'd given Lily a moral compass that had guided her through impossible circumstances. And that compass had led Lily to return a wallet, which had led Daniel to find meaning in his empty life, which had led to all three of them finding family. Sometimes Daniel wondered what would have happened if Lily had kept the wallet. Would she and Tommy have survived on that money for a while longer? Would they have eventually ended up in the foster system? Would Daniel still be living his hollow existence, going through the motions of a meaningless life? But those questions didn't matter anymore. What mattered was what had actually happened. A poor girl had made an impossible choice. A rich man had learned what truly mattered. And three broken people had found each other and built something beautiful out of their shared pain. Daniel carefully folded the note and put it back in his wallet right next to the photograph of his mother, two precious reminders of what love looked like. His mother's love for him, Lily's love for Tommy, and the love that now connected all three of them as a family. He walked down the hallway and peeked into both kids' rooms, a habit he'd developed. Lily was fast asleep, one arm hanging off the bed, her face peaceful. Tommy was curled up with his stuffed bear, breathing deeply and evenly. No nightmares tonight. Daniel stood there watching them sleep, these two children who'd survived so much and still managed to be kind and honest and good. And he made a silent promise, not just to them, but to himself and to the memory of his mother and to whatever force in the universe had brought them all together. He would spend the rest of his life making sure they knew they were loved. He would be there for every school play and soccer game and scraped knee and broken heart and triumph and failure. He would make mistakes because he was human and parenting was hard, but he would never give up. He would never leave. He would be the father they deserved, even though he'd started this journey having no idea how to be a father at all. Because that's what family did. They showed up. They stayed. They loved each other through the hard times and celebrated together in the good times. They chose each other every single day. A wallet had brought them together, but love would keep them together forever. 1 year later. Dad, hurry up, we're going to be late." Daniel smiled as he adjusted his tie in the mirror. Lily's voice carried through the penthouse with all the bossy impatience of a 10-year-old who'd become comfortable enough in her home to yell at her father. "Coming," he called back, grabbing his jacket. Today was the final hearing, the one where the temporary guardianship would become permanent adoption. Judge Lawson had been impressed with their progress over the past year. The monthly check-ins had been reduced to quarterly, then to just this final visit. All the reports were glowing. The kids were thriving. When Daniel emerged from his bedroom, both kids were waiting by the door dressed in their best clothes. Lily wore a pretty green dress she'd picked out herself. Tommy wore a suit that made him look impossibly grown-up for a 7-year-old. "You both look great," Daniel said. "You always say that," Lily teased. "Because it's always true," Daniel replied. At the courthouse, they met with Charles Morrison one last time. "This should be straightforward," Charles assured them. "All the paperwork is in order. This is just the formality of making it official." Judge Lawson called them into her chambers. This hearing wasn't in the big courtroom, just in her private office. She smiled when she saw them all come in together. "The Cross family," she said warmly. "It's good to see you all again. Please sit." They sat in the comfortable chairs facing her desk. Daniel had Lily on one side and Tommy on the other, and they both reached for his hands at the same time. Judge Lawson reviewed the papers in front of her. "I've read all the reports from Child Services. Both children are excelling in school. They're healthy, well-adjusted, and by all accounts thriving in your care, Mr. Cross. The therapist reports that while both children still have some trauma to work through, they're making excellent progress. And most importantly, when I ask them separately how they feel about their living situation, they both say the same thing: they've never been happier." She looked up at Daniel. "You've done something remarkable here, Mr. Cross. You took 2 children who'd been through unimaginable hardship and gave them not just a home, but a family, a real family." "They gave me a family too," Daniel said quietly. "I was just as lost as they were. We saved each other." Judge Lawson smiled. "That's the best kind of family." She picked up her pen. "Therefore, it is my great pleasure to finalize this adoption. Effective immediately, Lily Marie Cross and Thomas James Cross, you are the legal children of Daniel Cross. All rights and responsibilities of parenthood are hereby granted in full." She signed the papers with a flourish, then stood up and walked around her desk. "Congratulations, you're officially a family." Lily burst into tears, happy tears, and threw her arms around Daniel. Tommy did the same from the other side. And Daniel held both his children, his actual, legal, forever children, and felt a completeness he'd never known was possible. As they left the courthouse, a photographer from a local news station was waiting outside. The story of the billionaire who'd adopted 2 homeless children after one of them returned his lost wallet had captured people's imagination. There had been articles in newspapers, segments on the evening news, even a few interview requests that Daniel had politely declined. "Mr. Cross, can we get a photo of you and your kids?" the photographer called out. Daniel looked at Lily and Tommy. "What do you think? Want to take a picture?" They both nodded. They stood on the courthouse steps, Daniel in the middle with one child on each side, all 3 of them smiling like they'd just won the lottery, which, in a way, they had. That photo would run in newspapers across the country the next day with the headline, "From Lost Wallet to Found Family, the Story of Second Chances." But for Daniel, Lily, and Tommy, it wasn't really about second chances. It was about first chances, the first time any of them had experienced what a real family could be. That night, Daniel stood at the window of his penthouse looking out at the Chicago skyline. The city looked different to him now than it had a year ago. Back then, it had seemed cold and empty and full of strangers. Now it seemed full of possibility and hope. Behind him, he heard the sounds of his children arguing cheerfully about what game to play before bedtime. Those sounds that would have annoyed him a year ago, now made him smile. His phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, the private investigator who'd helped him find the kids. "Saw the photo in the paper. You guys look happy, really happy. Congratulations, Dad." Daniel typed back, "Thank you for everything, I owe you." Marcus replied immediately, "You don't owe me anything. Those kids deserved a miracle. I'm just glad you were it." But Daniel knew the truth. He hadn't been the miracle. Lily had been the miracle. Her choice to return that wallet despite being desperate and starving, that had been the miracle that saved all 3 of them. "Dad," Tommy called from the living room, "we decided on charades. Come play with us." "Be right there," Daniel called back. Before he left the window, he pulled out his wallet one more time and looked at Lily's note, still preserved and carried with him everywhere. He'd probably read it 1,000 times by now, but it still moved him every single time. I know stealing is wrong, and my mama taught me better than that. Thank you, Daniel whispered to Lily's mother wherever she was. Thank you for teaching your daughter to do the right thing. Thank you for giving her the character that saved all of us. He carefully returned the note to his wallet and went to join his children. 5 years later, 15-year-old Lily Cross sat at the kitchen counter doing her homework, tapping her pencil against her textbook in a rhythm that would have driven most people crazy. Daniel had learned to tune it out. 12-year-old Tommy was in the living room building an elaborate structure out of Legos, his tongue sticking out slightly in concentration the way it always did when he was focused. It was a typical Tuesday evening in the Cross household. Normal, ordinary, beautifully mundane. Daniel was cooking dinner, something he'd learned to do over the past 5 years with varying degrees of success. Tonight was spaghetti and meatballs, one of the few dishes all three of them agreed on. Dad, I need help with this math problem, Lily called out. It makes no sense. Let me see, Daniel said, wiping his hands on a towel and walking over. He looked at the algebra equation and had to admit it was beyond him. Okay, you got me. Want to video call Uncle Charles? He's good at math. Charles Morrison, Daniel's attorney, had become an honorary uncle to the kids over the years, as had Marcus Shaw, the investigator. And Susan Torres, the nanny who'd helped in those early days, was Grandma Susan now, even though she wasn't related by blood. Family, Daniel had learned, wasn't just about biology. It was about who showed up, who stayed, who loved you through everything. Nah, I'll figure it out, Lily said, pulling the textbook back toward her. I just needed to complain about it first. Daniel smiled. Lily had grown into a confident, brilliant young woman. She was at the top of her class, involved in student government, and volunteered at a homeless shelter every Saturday. She said she wanted to help kids like she and Tommy had been. Daniel had never been more proud of anyone in his entire life. Tommy had his own challenges. He was quieter than Lily, more introverted, still dealing with anxiety from their early years. But he was also kind and creative and funny. He loved building things, drawing comics, and making his family laugh with his impressions of their teachers. Both kids were in therapy still, probably would be for years to come. Trauma didn't just disappear because life got better, but they were healing day by day, moment by moment. Dinner's ready, Daniel announced, carrying the pot of spaghetti to the table. They sat down together, the three of them, in their usual spots. They held hands while Tommy said grace, a tradition they'd started a few years ago, not because they were particularly religious, but because it felt good to be thankful. Thank you for this food and for our family and for Dad's cooking, even though it's kind of weird sometimes, Tommy prayed, making Lily snort with laughter. Hey, Daniel protested, but he was smiling too. As they ate, Lily brought up something that had been on her mind. Dad, we got an assignment in English class today. We have to write about a moment that changed our life, and I was thinking about writing about the wallet. Daniel's fork paused halfway to his mouth. They didn't talk about before very often. The kids remembered it, of course. You don't forget 6 months of homelessness, but it wasn't something they dwelled on. Tell me more, Daniel said carefully. Well, I was thinking about how one choice, one decision to do the right thing even when it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, changed everything. Not just for me and Tommy, but for you too. Like, if I'd kept that wallet, where would we all be right now? Probably in very different places, Daniel admitted. I'd still be miserable and alone. You guys would be. He stopped, not wanting to finish that thought. We might not have made it, Tommy said quietly. I was really sick, if you hadn't gotten me to the hospital when you did. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Daniel reached across and squeezed Tommy's hand. But that's not what happened. What happened was your sister made an impossible choice and it saved all of us. I've been thinking about that a lot, Lily said thoughtfully. About Mom. She taught me to always do the right thing and then she left us. And for a long time I was so angry at her for that. How could she teach me about character and then abandon us? Daniel nodded, letting her talk. They'd had versions of this conversation before, with therapists and without. But I think I understand now, Lily continued. She was sick. Addiction is a disease, and even though she failed us in the biggest way possible, that one thing she taught me about doing the right thing that saved us. So maybe she didn't fail completely. Maybe she gave me the most important gift she could give. That's very wise, Daniel said softly. Do you think she knows? Tommy asked suddenly. Like, wherever she is, if she's even still alive, do you think she knows we're okay, that we have a real family now? I hope so, Daniel said. I really hope so. Lily wiped her eyes quickly. Anyway, I'm going to write about it, about the wallet and the choice and how sometimes doing the right thing when it feels impossible can change everything. Is that okay? I'll change names and stuff if you want privacy. Lily, it's your story as much as it's mine, Daniel said. You can tell it however you want. After dinner, while the kids did dishes, another evening routine they'd established, Daniel retreated to his home office to finish some work. His business had changed over the years too. He still ran his company, still made deals, but now he also donated massive amounts of money to organizations that helped homeless children. He'd started a foundation in the kids' names that provided emergency housing and services to homeless families. He couldn't save every child out there, but he could save some, and that had to be enough. Around 9 o'clock, there was a knock on his office door. Tommy peeked his head in. Dad, can I talk to you about something? Always, Daniel said, closing his laptop. What's on your mind? Tommy came in and sat in the chair across from Daniel's desk. He looked nervous. There's a career day at school next week. They want parents to come talk about their jobs. Okay, Daniel said. Do you want me to come? Yeah, but, Tommy fidgeted with his hands. Some of the kids at school know about us, about how you adopted us, about where we came from, and sometimes they ask questions that are kind of rude. Daniel felt a familiar protective anger rise in his chest. What kind of questions? Like they ask if we're really grateful, or they say we're lucky you picked us, or they ask what it's like to be poor and then rich, and I never know what to say. Daniel came around the desk and knelt down in front of Tommy's chair, looking him in the eyes. First of all, anyone who asks you questions like that is being incredibly rude, and you have every right to tell them it's none of their business. But if you want to answer them, here's what you can say. Yes, we're grateful. We're grateful every day, but not because Dad has money. We're grateful because he loves us and shows up for us and keeps his promises. That's what matters. What about the lucky part? Tommy asked. Here's the truth, Tommy. I'm the lucky one. You and Lily saved my life just as much as I helped save yours. Before you came along, I had everything and I was miserable. Now I have you too, and I'm happy. Really, truly happy. So yeah, we're all lucky. Lucky we found each other. Tommy nodded slowly. Can I tell them that at career day? You can tell them whatever you want, Daniel said. You can tell them about the wallet if you're comfortable with it. Or you can tell them nothing at all. It's your story, buddy. You get to decide who knows it. Tommy thought about this for a moment. I think I want them to know, not because I want attention or anything, but because maybe if they hear about it, they'll treat homeless kids better. Like, they'll realize homeless kids are just regular kids who had bad luck. Daniel pulled Tommy into a hug. When did you get so wise? I learned from my sister, Tommy said, and my dad. Career day arrived, and Daniel showed up at Tommy's middle school along with about 20 other parents. He gave a presentation about running a business, kept it simple and engaging, and answered questions from curious 12-year-olds about everything from how much money do you make to is it fun being the boss. At the end, one boy raised his hand. Mr. Cross, is it true you adopted Tommy and his sister after they were homeless? The room went silent. All eyes turned to Daniel. He glanced at Tommy, who nodded slightly, permission to tell the truth. Yes, that's true, Daniel said calmly. Why? The boy asked. It wasn't a rude question, just genuinely curious. Daniel thought carefully about his answer. 6 years ago, I lost something very important to me. Tommy's sister Lily found it and returned it when she could have kept it. She was hungry and scared and had every reason to keep what she found, but she chose to do the right thing instead. When I met her and Tommy and saw how brave and honest they were despite everything they'd been through, I realized they were exactly the kind of people I wanted in my life. So I asked if they'd let me be their family. They said yes, and it's been the best decision I've ever made. Another student raised her hand. Do you ever regret it, like when they're annoying or get in trouble? Daniel laughed. Do your parents ever regret having you when you're annoying? The class giggled, and the girl nodded sheepishly. Family isn't about whether someone annoys you sometimes, Daniel continued. It's about commitment. It's about showing up even on the hard days. Tommy and Lily aren't perfect, nobody is, but they're mine and I'm theirs, and that's forever. That's what family means. On the drive home, Tommy was quiet. Daniel let him process whatever he was thinking. Finally, Tommy spoke. Thanks for saying that stuff about us being yours. It's the truth, Daniel said simply. I know, but it's nice to hear you say it in front of other people. Some of the kids at school think you're like our charity case or something, like you just took us in to look good. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Tommy, look at me. Tommy turned to face him. You and Lily are not charity, you're not a tax write-off, you're not something I did to make myself look good. You're my children, my son and my daughter, you're the best part of my life, and anyone who doesn't understand that isn't worth your time. Tommy smiled a real, genuine smile. I know, I just like hearing you say it. That weekend, the whole family went to the homeless shelter where Lily volunteered. Daniel had been coming with her for the past year, and Tommy joined them sometimes too. Today they were serving lunch to families who were experiencing homelessness. As Daniel handed out trays of food, he was struck by how many children there were. Kids Tommy's age, Lily's age, even younger. Kids with tired eyes and too thin bodies and that same wary look Lily and Tommy had when he'd first found them. One little girl, maybe 8 years old, reminded him so much of Lily from 6 years ago that it hurt. She had the same protective stance, the same way of watching everything carefully, ready to run at the first sign of danger. After the lunch service was over, Daniel pulled aside Margaret Chen, the shelter director. Margaret, that little girl with the brown hair, the one who was sitting in the corner with the younger boy, is she living here with her brother? Yes, Margaret confirmed quietly. Mother dropped them off 2 months ago and never came back. We're working with social services, but the system is overloaded as always. They'll probably end up in foster care eventually. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. And will they be kept together? Margaret's expression said everything. We try, but there's no guarantee. Daniel looked across the room at Lily and Tommy, who were playing board games with some of the younger kids. His children, his family. The kids who'd gotten lucky because Lily had made one honest choice and Daniel had been in a position to help. But what about all the other Lilies and Tommies out there? What about all the kids who never got their lucky break? Margaret, Daniel said slowly, an idea forming. What if I told you I wanted to expand my foundation's work, not just provide funding but create actual housing specifically for families with children? Small apartments where siblings could stay together while social services figured out permanent placement. Would something like that help? Margaret's eyes widened. Mr. Cross, that would be revolutionary. That's exactly what we need, but the costs. I'm aware of the costs, Daniel interrupted. And I can afford it, but I don't just want to throw money at the problem. I want to be involved. I want to make sure these kids get real help, not just warehouse them somewhere. Then yes, Margaret said firmly. Yes, that would help enormously. That night, Daniel stayed up late in his office, sketching out plans. By morning, he had the rough outline of what would become the Bennett Cross Foundation, named after Lily and Tommy's original last name, dedicated to providing transitional housing and support services for homeless families with children. It would take months to get it running, maybe even years to do it right. But Daniel had learned patience over the past 6 years. He'd learned that the most important things take time. Lily Cross walked across the stage at her high school graduation, accepting her diploma while her family cheered louder than anyone else in the auditorium. She was 18 now, headed to college in the fall on a full scholarship. She planned to study social work, specializing in child welfare. After the ceremony, as families gathered outside for photos, Daniel stood with his arms around both his kids, feeling a bittersweet mix of pride and nostalgia. Lily was leaving for college in 3 months. Tommy would be starting high school. Time had moved so fast. Dad, stop looking sad, Lily teased, adjusting her graduation cap. I'm only going to Northwestern. I'll be home all the time. I know, Daniel said. I'm not sad, I'm just processing. It feels like yesterday you were 9 years old, standing in the lobby of my building with my wallet. Best worst day of my life, Lily said thoughtfully. The day I was so hungry and scared I almost kept that money. The day I almost gave up on being the person my mom taught me to be. But I didn't, and look where we are now. Look where we are now, Daniel echoed, pulling both kids closer. As they took family photos, Daniel with Lily and Tommy, then individual shots, then silly photos where they all made ridiculous faces, Daniel thought about the journey that had brought them here. 6 years ago, he'd been a man who had everything and nothing. A man so disconnected from life that he felt more like a ghost than a person. Then a little girl made an impossible choice, and that choice had rippled out in ways none of them could have predicted. Lily and Tommy had a home, a family, a future full of possibilities. Daniel had purpose, love, a reason to wake up every morning excited about what the day would bring. And through the Bennett Cross Foundation, dozens of other families were being helped every year. Not all of them ended up in perfect situations. Life rarely worked that cleanly, but they all got a chance, a real chance. That evening, after the graduation party was over and Tommy had gone to bed, Lily found Daniel standing at the window of the penthouse, looking out at the city like he used to do before she came into his life. "Whatcha thinking about?" she asked, coming to stand beside him. "Everything," Daniel said, "nothing, just remembering." "Remember when you found us in that factory?" Lily asked. "Tommy and me in that horrible building and you came in crying." "I remember," Daniel said. "I remember thinking I'd never seen anything more heartbreaking than two children trying to survive in that place." "I remember thinking you were weird for crying," Lily admitted. "Adults weren't supposed to cry, but now I understand. You weren't crying because you pitied us, you were crying because you saw us, really saw us." "I saw two of the bravest people I'd ever met," Daniel said. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the city lights twinkle below. "Dad," Lily said quietly. "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for keeping your promise, for never leaving, for being exactly what Tommy and I needed even though you didn't know how to be a parent when we met. Thank you for learning with us." Daniel felt tears prick his eyes. "Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for that note you left in my wallet. Thank you for being honest when it would have been so much easier to be dishonest. You saved my life, Lily. You and Tommy saved my life." Lily hugged him tight. "We saved each other," she said. "That's what families do." After Lily went to bed, Daniel took out his wallet one final time. The note was still there after all these years. The paper was worn now, the edges soft from being handled so many times, but the words were still clear. "Dear Mr. Daniel Cross, I found your wallet on Michigan Avenue. I'm sorry, but I took $100 to buy food and medicine for my little brother Tommy." Daniel read the whole note through like he'd done thousands of times before. Then he carefully placed it back in his wallet right next to the photo of his mother. Two reminders of love, two pieces of paper that represented everything that mattered. He thought about that lost man from 6 years ago, walking the streets of Chicago, feeling nothing, caring about nothing. That man would never have believed that a lost wallet would lead to this, to a family, to purpose, to a life full of meaning and love and the beautiful chaos of raising children. But life had a funny way of surprising you. Sometimes the worst days turned into the best days, sometimes loss led to finding. Sometimes a starving little girl's impossible choice to do the right thing changed 3 lives forever. Daniel walked down the hallway one more time, checking on his sleeping children like he did every night. Lily was sprawled across her bed, her graduation cap hanging on the bedpost. Tommy was curled up with his stuffed bear. Yes, he still slept with it sometimes, and Daniel would fight anyone who gave him grief about it. His children, his family, his entire world. "Good night, Lily," Daniel whispered. "Good night, Tommy. I love you both more than all the money in the world, more than all the buildings I own, more than anything." And somewhere, maybe in heaven or maybe just in Daniel's heart, he felt his mother smiling. She would have loved Lily and Tommy. She would have been proud of the man her son had become, not because of his wealth or success, but because he'd finally learned what she'd always known, that love was the only thing that mattered, that family was everything, that doing the right thing, even when it was hard, always led you home. The end. Thank you for following this incredible journey of love, redemption, and family. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that second chances exist, that kindness matters, and that sometimes the smallest choices lead to the biggest changes. Remember, we all have the power to change someone's life. We just have to be brave enough to do the right thing, even when it's the hardest thing in the world. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments and tell us what this story meant to you. God bless you all, and never stop believing in the power of compassion.